One less week and one fewer day until the NFL regular season begins. Cowboys and Eagles, just about 4 weeks from Thursday at the link. But first, welcome to the B&E Podcast, NFC West Divisional Breakdown Show. He's Ed. I'm Brandon. Ed, how you doing, man?
Doing all right today, man. How about you?
Doing good. Doing good.
Yeah, I can't wait for these preseason games, to be honest with you. There's a couple of teams I'm looking forward to, mainly the rookies like Cam Ward from Tennessee. And hopefully I'll see Shador play a little bit, but I'm really looking forward to like rookie quarterbacks playing. And if there's any position battles, looking forward to that. You got any games or preseason games like you kind of looking forward to?
One game caught my attention. I didn't realize until a few minutes ago the Raiders and the Seahawks play. So seeing Pete Carroll going back to Seattle for the first time, I know it's preseason, but um, sure to be a little bit emotional for him and see how the crowd, accepts him uh, and everything when he gets out there on the field.
Right. Yeah, that definitely is interesting.
Yep.
All right, let's get into this opening drive, everyone. Broncos D lineman Zach Allen was awarded a 4-year, $102 million deal. Chargers linebacker Denzel Perryman was arrested on a felony weapons charge. The NFLPA elects David White to serve as interim executive director. Raiders safety Lonnie Johnson Jr. suffers a broken leg during a scrimmage. Dolphins have reached an extension with defensive tackle Zach Sealer, making him their highest paid defensive player. James Cooks decided to sit out Bills training camp amid contract stalemate. The Falcons have signed right tackle Caleb McGarry to a 2-year, $30 million extension. The Browns are signing quarterback Tyler Huntley. Brandon, before we go on, you got any comments on Tyler Huntley getting signed by the Browns? I know you like
I'm I'm jealous. I want him back in Baltimore. I've always been a fan of his. But overall, it's more so I'd rather see Shador play. I know they said he's, I think, dealing with a shoulder injury, and Pickett and Gabriel have hamstring injuries right now, so that's why they brought in Tyler Huntley. So I would assume that Huntley will not be around by the time the 53-man roster is finalized. But of course, that's all dependent on injuries. But yeah, of course, I don't want to see him back in Cleveland. I'd rather see him in Baltimore. But we got Cooper Rush. We'll see how that goes. See how he plays in the preseason. I was kind of harsh on our backup quarterbacks last year around this time. So yeah, we'll see how it all pans out, though.
Yeah, I think Cooper Rush honestly is an upgrade for the backup quarterback. You saw when he played with the Cowboys, he was competitive. Actually, won some games a few times, and he got some experience too. So I think Cooper Rush will be good for y'all. But let's get into this NFC West preview. First, we're going to start with the Seattle Seahawks. A lot of changes. One of the big changes is their new starting quarterback, Sam Darnold. He got signed to the team. They traded away DK Metcalf, brought in Cooper Kupp. They brought in DeMarcus Lawrence, brought in MVS, Marquez Valdes-Scantling. In the draft, they had about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 draft picks. Two of the ones I'm looking forward to most seeing is Jalen Milroe, quarterback out of Alabama, and a receiver they drafted in the 5th round, Torrey Horton out of Colorado State. I watched a bunch of Colorado games, and I just remember him. He had one game. It was that game where it was pretty viral. I think it went into overtime. It might have been another game, but he went off against Colorado. They couldn't do anything with him. So I'm interested to see how he looks out there. He's a 5th round pick, so it's probably going to be a little hard for him to get some playing time right away. But I'm interested to see how good he's going to be. Back to this team, though, I think they got all the weapons. Question mark for me is Sam Darnold. I know he did really good with the Vikings last year. Was that more of a flash in the pan, or is that more of things to come? I like the running back they have in Kenneth Walker. I think he's a really good back as long as he can stay healthy. I think their defense is pretty good with the coach they got. He was your defensive coordinator a couple years ago, right? Seahawks good coach. Yeah. So I know he's more of a defensive-minded guy. And I think he got a couple of good cornerbacks out there in the backfield too. So my question mark, honestly, is Sam Darnold. If he can replicate what he did with the Vikings, they should be good. They should be competing in this division. I think NFC West for the NFC side is going to be a really tough division. I think there's a chance that all 4 teams are fighting for a playoff spot, in my opinion. But Sam Darnold, I just have question marks. I know last year he did good, but then we saw the playoffs didn't do too good and looked like back to normal. So we'll see if he can, replicate that magic he had in the regular season last year, but I'm not too sure. It would kind of be funny if what happened with the Seahawks happened back in the day where I think it was Matt Flinley's side and they drafted a guy named Russell Wilson. And lo and behold, Russell Wilson was the one who took over the franchise. I'm not saying that will happen with Jalen Milroe and Sam Darnold, but it would be kind of funny if that does happen again. But I'm rooting for Sam Darnold. I don't like to see guys fail or anything like that. That's just my main question mark right now for the Seahawks. What are your thoughts on this team going to the next season, though?
So, do we trust Sam Darnold, or will he be seeing ghosts again? That's my main question right now for them. I just hope they don't put too much on him. I know they struggled to run the ball a little bit last year. I think part of that was they had some injuries at the running back position. You mentioned Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet. He's a solid back as well. Those numbers should improve if those guys are healthy. We got JSN. He's stepping into the number one receiver position. He'll be supported by the uh, newly signed, excuse me, uh, Mr. Triple Crown himself, Cooper Cup, and as you mentioned, MVS as well, coming over from, I believe, the Chiefs where he last played. But defensively, this secondary, I really like Kobe Bryant, Rick Wollen, Devin Witherspoon. I think they can make even more of a leap in the year two under Mike McDonald. As you mentioned, a great defensive mind came from the Baltimore defensive coordinator position a couple years ago. But yeah, I got to give credit to this Seattle front office. Their second and third picks in the draft, Nick Emenwari, and I'll probably pronounce that wrong. The safety out of Carolina. He's someone that the Ravens fans really wanted before we pick Malachi Starks, and then the University of Miami tight end Elijah Arroyo. I think they'll be two solid franchise players for years to come. Those two guys there, but I think I'm just a little bit higher on some of the other teams in this division. I do surprisingly have Seattle finishing fourth. I think again I agree with you in the fact that all four teams will likely be in those weeks 12 to 16 or 17 fighting for playoff positioning, but I think Seattle will come up just short. I just feel like the other teams are going to make some improvements this coming season. All right, turning the page, coming off a disappointing season for the 49ers, several changes for this roster and coaching staff. There's a new defense coordinator, kinda. Robert Saleh is back there in Santa Clara. Several players, though, are gone. Two things that scare me about this 49er offense is the health and the offensive line. Brock Purdy was sacked, I believe, 31 times last season. In the words of my old guy, he was a former Ravens assistant coach, and their old head coach, Mike Singletary, cannot win with him, cannot coach with him, can't do it. I mean, you cannot protect your quarterback. It's going to be issues. But not all that was on the offensive line. Brock Purdy, he needs to protect the ball better as well. He's been known to throw some interceptions. He's had 12 last season. I do, though, like his wide receivers. I know Ayuk, I believe, is nursing an injury right now. Jawan Jennings, I believe he was asking for a new contract, and then they got Ricky Pearsall heading into year two. I think those three guys, if healthy, can help Brock limit those turnovers. We already know what McCaffrey and George Kittle can do. They are a problem on the field when those two guys are out there. But they really focused this offseason on the defense. They struggled with keeping teams out of the end zone last year. I think that was part of the reason why they was in fourth place last year. They had a huge drop from the season before. Of course, they was I think eliminated from the playoffs well before the end of the season. Struggled against the run and the pass defense as well. So Robert Saleh should help that. I really do. I agree with people on television that say, Robert Saleh is going to be good for this defense. Bosa, Fred Warner, we already know what they can do. Needing them to be stepping up to be a little bit more leaders as well as they sprinkle in some of the young guys around them. Of course, Hufanga's gone, and they lost some other guys as well. I'm taking the 49ers to finish in third. How do you feel about them?
Yeah, they lost a bunch of guys, as you said. Debo Samuel, he got traded to my Commanders. Javon Hargrave, he was released. He's with the Vikings now. Malik Collins, He's with the Cleveland Browns. Leonard Floyd, he's with the Falcons. As you mentioned, Talonga Hufanga, he's with the Broncos. Dre Greenlaw, he's with the Broncos. Charvarius Ward, he's with the Colts now. Aaron Banks is with the Packers, and their running back Elijah Mitchell is with the Kansas City Chiefs. They did pick up a lot of people in free agency, and they drafted mostly on defense in the draft. I'm looking at their first 4 draft picks. Defensive end out of Georgia, Michael Williams. Defensive tackle with Alfred Collins in the 2nd round. 3rd round, they had Nick Martin, linebacker. They also had a cornerback in the 3rd round, Upton Stout, cornerback out of Western Kentucky. 4th round, CJ West, D tackle out of Indiana. And then they finally drafted on the offensive side of the ball, Jordan Watkins, wide receiver, Ole Miss. So their first 4 or 5 picks was defense. I'm sure that's good for their new defensive coach that came back to the fold, as you mentioned. So we'll see how that goes. You kind of went about it with your analysis. Injuries last year. Ayuk, he was injured. Ricky Pearsall, the first 6 weeks, I think he was missed because he was shot. Christian McCaffrey, he was dealing with injuries that had a huge effect on Brock Purdy. And they still were competitive. It seems like they find running backs. Kyle Shanahan can find a running back off the street, and he can get 100 yards the next 4 or 5 games. So want to see how that running game looks with Christian McCaffrey back and healthy again. And how's they signed your boy Mac Jones. He's more of a, going to be a backup role, but I want to see how he looks in the preseason. See how he does too. I'm kind of leaning on them being in 3rd place as well. I should have said I agree with you on the Seahawks. I don't think I got a ranking for them, but I had them in 4th as well. But I'm leaning on the Niners to kind of be in a tie with 2nd place, but they'll be the bottom team, so they'll be 3rd place, but they might have the same record as the 2nd place team, if that makes sense. As long as Brock Purdy has his healthy weapons, he seems to be a really good quarterback. He's got us team to the Super Bowl. He's got us team deep in the playoffs. I think he's proven that he's pretty good in this league. So as long as he can stay healthy, as long as his weapons can stay healthy, they should be good. I am interested to see when Ayuk is coming back because he had a pretty big knee injury, blew his knee out early in the season last year. If he'll be back by the time the regular season starts, or if it'll take him some time. I think he tore a couple of ligaments in his knee last year. So, like you said, Robert Saleh, I think, is going to be really good for that defense. They were really good as a unit when he was there. I think he's going to have those guys flying around again. That experience he had the Jets as a head coach, I think he's going to use a lot of that to become even better defensive coordinator. And I think that defense is going to be a top 10 unit. They did lose a lot of guys, but they brought in some new guys as well. And they signed a bunch of guys in the free agency. So I'm leaning on them being in 3rd place, but I think they're going to be like a tie 2nd place going into that 3rd ranking. So looking out for the Niners as well. We'll see how they do. Now let's move on to the LA Rams. This team took off last year. They drafted Jared Verse, defensive rookie of the year. They drafted Braden Fisk, and that defense transformed. That defensive line was really good, and it was contagious for the rest of that defense, in my opinion. They re-signed Matthew Stafford. He's an older guy now. He's pretty banged up, it seems like, every time he plays or in the preseason training camp. I don't think he's been working a lot during the training camp. I think I saw something today where he didn't participate in the jog through for those guys. He was just on the side doing his own work. Pretty sure that's just precautionary, keeping their main guy healthy by the time the regular season starts so he can do his real thing. They re-signed Tutu Atwell. I liked him. One of the biggest free agency acquisitions, though, was Devontae Adams. I think that's a good piece for them, especially since they lost Cooper Kupp in free agency. So interested to see how him and Matt Stafford look out there. I think that could be a really deadly combination. I know both of those guys long in the tooth, but pretty sure both of those guys are Hall of Fame trajectory, Hall of Fame careers, and it's hard to, that talent, even though they're older guys, I still think they'll be pretty good. So I really want to see how those two mesh out there. I like their tight ends they got the year before too. This year they drafted a tight end in the 2nd round, Terrence Ferguson out of Oregon. I want to see how he looks out there when he gets on the field. And I really think this team is going to be fighting for 1st place again. I think they surprised a lot. They surprised me last year with the way they finished. I think they're going to build off that. I got them right now fighting for a first place finish in the NFC West. I think as long as Matt Stafford can stay healthy, and that defense really took off last year. If you remember when they played the Eagles, they were giving them some go in the playoffs. Braden Fisk, their D tackle, rookie D tackle, he got hurt, and that kind of changed the momentum of the game. The Eagles were able to move the ball a little bit better. He's healthy now, so I think that D line, Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, those guys would dominate and make it really hard for a lot of teams out there. So honestly, I think that defense is going to be a top 10 unit as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they get the top 5. And Matt Stafford is going to be a wily veteran. Didn't even mention their running back, but he's pretty good too. So yeah, give me the Rams finishing in the first place in the NFC West. Brandon, what are your thoughts on those guys?
Yeah, man, no disrespect to Cooper Kupp, but the Rams fans, as you mentioned, they're in for a treat with Devontae Adams. We know a guy that can score touchdowns. His catch radius, his route running, and his hands are just phenomenal. I mean, no doubt. Their offense will continue to be one of the best in the league. I know some people talk about their lack of run game, and it needs to improve, but part of the reason why they were 24th in the league in rushing last year is because they had Matt Stafford, Puka, Tutu Atwell, and Tyler Higbee, and of course Cooper, who's gone now. So on the defensive side of the ball, no reason to worry either, Rams fans. I don't think there's an offensive line that has a good shot against Kobe Turner, Byron Young, Braden Fisk, and Jared Verse, the 2 guys you mentioned that were drafted last year. Secondary is a little bit young, but it's talented. So both sides of the football should be among the best in the National Football League this coming season. Only bits of concerns for me is that they do have 4 tough games against probably 4 of the best teams in the league: Philadelphia, Baltimore, Tampa Bay, and Detroit. And then also is, as you mentioned, Matt Stafford and his injury right now, having some back soreness. And as we know, as you get older and you're a man, that stuff just lingers around. So you can imagine as an athlete what he's going through right now with a back issue. You know, that messes with how you're throwing motion, that messes, all that kind of stuff. The standing under center, I think he's a little bit more under center than he is in the shotgun. But yeah, hopefully that back soreness does not linger into the regular season, because I think this Rams team can go very far if a lot of their pieces are healthy. I have no doubt they'll come out at the top in NFC West again, second straight year when it's all said and done.
No doubt. Okay, very confident. I see.
Yeah, very confident. All right, Cardinals. Their fans are hoping their squad can get right this season after dropping 5 of their last 7 games in 2024. Continuity, everyone. Arizona is one of the only organizations in football with the same coach, offensive coordinator, and defensive coordinator over the past 3 seasons. That's a bonus for them. If you ever watch Drumline, one band, one sound, everyone. Kyler Murray, James Conner, 2 of my favorite players to watch. I just always did like James Conner, even when he was in Pittsburgh. But this team, I think they need to get a little bit better in the passing game. Last season, it was Kyler and Trey McBride. If you had Trey McBride on your fantasy team, you was doing good, because the guy was out there balling out. But we need more Marvin Harrison Jr. And he did come on a little bit towards the back end of the season. It kind of seemed like he wasn't focused at first. And I don't want to say that he wasn't, but it just seemed like we knew him and Kyler just couldn't get things connected. But it just didn't look like he was all in like he was at Ohio State University in his senior year out there in college. But yeah, Kyler, James Conner, Marvin Harrison Jr., McBride, I think that'll be the main reason why this team will take a jump into second place. Defensively, they got a mix of veterans and young people. They've spent the 5th most amount of money on the defensive side of the ball heading into this season. So we'll see how those investments pay off. They did get Calais Campbell back in the mix, and he did turn down, I think, Baltimore and another contender to go to Arizona. So I know he said he wants to kind of retire where it started, but I think that also shows that he sees something. Every now and then, Arizona just comes out of nowhere and starts winning games, and they like either first or second in NFC West. And I think this will be a season for them to finish second. They do got to get off to a fast start, though. They have 4 of their first 6 games against New Orleans, Carolina, Tennessee, and Indianapolis. I think those are winnable games. The other 2 are a little bit tougher. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I got them finishing second place in the NFC West. How do you feel about Arizona?
I'm right with you, man. I got them in the second place too, kind of in a tie with the Niners, but I think they'll be ahead on the tiebreaker and finish in second place. As you mentioned, they focus a lot on the defensive side of the ball. The draft was pretty much all defensive players. First round, they drafted D tackle out of Ole Miss, Walter Nolan. Second round, go blue cornerback Will Johnson out of Michigan. If you remember last year, the Commanders drafted Mike Sarenstill out of Michigan. He came in and is really good. I have the same feeling Will Johnson is going to be great for the Cardinals as well. They drafted the edge rusher in the third round, Jordan Birch. They drafted a linebacker out of Ohio State, Cody Simon, in the fourth round. Fifth round, they drafted another player out of Ohio State, cornerback Denzel Burt. Then they finally drafted somebody in the offensive side of the ball. Wasn't a skill position, though. It was a guard, Hayden Connor out of Texas. And they finished off the seventh round with safety out of Nevada, Keaton Crawford. And then, as you mentioned, a lot of the guys, they spent some money in free agency. You talked about Calais Campbell. They also re-signed Josh Sweat. He's reuniting with his coach, Jonathan Gannon. They picked up Dalvin Tomlinson, Akeem Davis, Gaither, Michael Walker, Baron Browning. He's an OLB. Outside linebacker LJ Collier, a defensive lineman, Joey Blunt, safety, and cornerback Jalen Jones. So they really focus on the defense side of the ball. I think the defense will be new and improved. You talked about the offense as well. I agree with you with the Marvin Harrison thing. I think he'll be better going into year 2. I heard he put on some muscle this season. He kind of reminded me a little bit of Kyle Pitts last year, where there was some games he wasn't on the stat sheet at all. You're just like, what the hell's going on? I think the connection between him and Kyler will be better. My only concern is injuries. Kyler Murray in recent years, it always seems like he does good, and then an injury will pop up and it'll just derail their season. If he can stay healthy, I think the guys can get into the playoffs. But will he stay healthy? I know he blew his knee out a few years ago, and then it just seems like he had some nagging injuries ever since then. Can he stay healthy for the whole season and go into the playoffs if they make it? I'm betting on them that they will. So, yeah, I like the Arizona Cardinals to finish in second place. They also picked up my boy Jacoby Brissett, veteran backup for Kyler Murray. I think that's a good addition just in case he does get injured. I know he wasn't really great with the Patriots, but, I mean, they were basically leaving him as like a lamb to the slaughter with the way he looked out there. So, they signed Zay Jones, wide receiver, and Greg Dortch as well. I really think this team can do good. I like Trey McBride a lot too. Top 5 tight end in my opinion. You argue top 3. James Conner is really good too when he's healthy as well. So if this team can stay healthy, I got them finishing second and honestly fighting for first place. But like I said, I think this whole division, honestly, kind of like the AFC West, I won't be surprised if everybody in this division finishes 500 or better. Some question marks, just Kyler and his injury history, and then Sam Darnold, just can he continue what he did last year? Those other 2 teams, the Rams and the Niners, I think they'll be more steady, improving like they have been in recent years. So, yeah, I got the Rams in first place for me, Cardinals in second place, Niners in a tie, but finishing in third place, and then Seahawks in fourth. But kind of like the Raiders, I can see them going like 9-8, something like that, and fighting for a playoff spot. And we pretty, I think we got the same rankings for everybody, if I'm not mistaken. I think you got everybody.
Yeah, I was not expecting that. I was not expecting you to take Arizona at 2, so I'm very surprised.
No, I'm with you. I'm a big Kyler Murray fan, and it's just he always seems when they do take off and when they go downhill, he's either injured or he has a nagging injury when he plays bad. And that defense hasn't always been the greatest, in my opinion. I think the focus on defense this year, these free agent signings and the draft picks, I think the defense should be new and improved. And I'm counting on them to, be a more balanced team and not have Kyler Murray go out there, run around, try to be MVP. Like, I'm sure he has the talent, potential to do it, but I think the defense will be more – I think they can win some games too, shut teams down, in my opinion. I like the Josh Sweat sign. Calais Campbell, even though he's really old, can't count him out. He makes plays out there when he's needed.
Yep. I believe I saw a stat where when Jonathan Gannon was hired a couple of years ago, they was either 30, 31st, or 32nd in the league in total defense. I think they got up to I want to say mid-20s in his first year, and then last year they was at 15, if I'm not mistaken. So they've taken steps forward each year. So we'll see if they can get into that top 10, and if they can get in that top 10 to go along with this offense and the guys that, I mean, we already seen it. They was what, 8 and something last year with basically their best receiver was the tight end, 8 and 9. If they can get Marvin Harrison Jr. going and Zay Jones and those guys, yeah, look out.
Definitely. Look out indeed. All right, everyone. That's going to do it for another episode of Breaking the Internet Podcast. As always, we thank everybody who takes time out to watch the show. Like us on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe if you want to. Look for us as B&E Podcast. Follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, Podcast B&E. And you can look for us on Instagram as well, B&E Podcast. If you're friends with us on Facebook, Brandon and I, you'll see some clips of we post on there as well as a link to the show if you're friends with us on there. So I'm looking forward to the preseason games coming up. I want to see if Shedeur Sanders is even going to play. I know he's dealing, like you said, the shoulder injury and arm soreness. So we'll see if he plays. But definitely looking forward to Cam Ward. And I'm glad you mentioned the Raiders Seahawks. If they'll have any tributes or anything like that for Pete Carroll or anything, that'd be pretty cool. So, yeah, man. Until next time, y'all stay safe out there, and we'll see you on Friday. Peace.